welcome to the Vanier Wood Shop. My name's Mr. Dakinowicz, and I'm going to show you the scroll saw today. So this is our scroll saw. This is a wonderful machine. It's used for intricate cuts. It has the ability to do really quick turns, and it can create a lot of really nice shapes. Lots of people use the scroll saw for various things. You can make Christmas tree ornaments or ornaments for your house. You can do fine little art projects. They're really awesome. You guys will use them a lot in grade 9, 10, and sometimes our grade 11s and 12s find their way back to it. It's a really great saw to use. It requires all of your focus and attention. This is one you definitely want to be paying attention to. This is something you don't want to talk to a bunch of friends when they're doing. But the parts that we have, we've got our table, we have our blade, which is right in here. We've got a little guard. This little black thing with the orange tip actually has air that blows through, so it keeps the top of your cut clean, so you're able to see the line. We've got a speedometer. You can turn it down by turning it to the left, just like the volume control on a stereo. The faster you need it to go. So if you're cutting something really thin, this is quite thin. We don't have to have it turned up really fast. We could go about a quarter of the speed. And then if you're cutting something thicker, like this piece of spruce, if we were going to cut this, which is closer to 3/4 of an inch, we would turn the speed up pretty high. But we're going to talk about that in a second. You always want to wear eye protection with this machine, same as all the tools in the shop. Hearing protection on this one is recommended, not required. This machine is quite quiet while you're cutting. I'm going to show you a few different things that we can do with this machine. Again, I'm going to draw in Sharpie. Normally we would never do that. We would only ever draw on wood in pencil because we can easily sand it off. But for the ability for you to see what I'm doing, I'll be drawing in Sharpie today. But that's a big no-no in the real world of woodworking. But we've got our on-off button just down here out of view of camera. The big green button's on, the big red button stop. It's fairly self-explanatory. When you set this saw up, if we were cutting something really thin, we're actually going to use this mid-sized piece of MDF. If we were going to cut this, what I like to do is just set the wood just behind the blade. Again, always when the machine's off. There's a toggle right here that we can turn, and we're going to set this so that it just rests on top. So our material still slides easily underneath, but it's not, it doesn't have a lot of play, if you will. So this is the guard, or the hold down. This little metal thing does not actually hold the material down. You're going to push mostly down when you're using this machine, and you're going to apply a firm pressure but not a hard pressure. So the faster you push, the harder it is on the blade. So we actually, if we move a little bit slower with this one, we let the blade do all the work, and you can cut very, very tight corners and radiuses. We don't need relief cuts the same way that we used to. But to demo this, if we just take a line, and I'll grab my Sharpie. So if we just need to cut off a corner like this, draw my corner, and all we're going to do, we'll turn it on. We've already set the height. My fingers I'm going to keep out of the way of the blade. I'm never going to have them in the way of the blade. I'm never going to have them driving towards the blade. I don't want to catch. I don't want the wood to release and have my finger slide in. It will cut me, even though it seems like a very tiny blade. There's still potential for danger, so we want to make sure our hands are well away. They can be either to the left or the right, depending on where you're standing. The nice thing about the scroll saw is you can stand directly in front of it. You can also make cuts kind of from the side when it's more easy for you. So if we turn it on, you can see that it's quite quiet. We can adjust the speed. This is definitely going to be too slow. It's barely moving. This is definitely going to be too fast for this piece of material. We're going to go about halfway, and we're just going to slowly ease in, and as we cut, I'm going to hold this firmly down, and then just let the blade work. And it easily cuts. So now I can shut it off. Same as on the bandsaw, I'm never going to use my hand to get that material out. I'm going to use a piece of scrap, and this piece I can use to use this guy. Push it out of the way, clear the table. I'll set that to the side. The one nice feature about this is we can actually make cuts from drilling a hole. Normally you have to cut in from the outside of material. On this we have a nice hole right here that happened to be a knot, but we're going to use it to our advantage. If we move this toggle switch forward, the white one goes forward, it takes off the pressure from the thing. We're going to actually unplug the saw while we do this. And I'll set this there just so we know that it's unplugged. We're going to loosen this black knob. We can lift this out of our way, the arm moves up. We can now slide our material in using that hole. If you were doing something, you could use a drill press or a drill just to create the hole for you. But we're going to tighten that up. We're not tightening until we can't tighten anymore. It's not looking for Hercules. We're just trying to make sure that it's nice and snug. Put the thing back. We're going to make sure there's a slight noise or a little bit of a note. I don't know what note that is. Somebody in band might be able to tell us one day. We can plug this guy back in now that we're safe. So now my material is inside. I cannot take it out in any way. I'm going to adjust this. I'm going to adjust this down now that we've moved everything around. Make sure that my hold down is in the right spot. Again, the hold down is there more to protect my fingers than to actually hold material down. I'm going to make sure everybody moves freely. When I turn this on now, I can point that in. Now what I can do is make really tight cuts. I'm going to turn that speed down. And I can see, you can see that I'm moving my hands around constantly so that I'm in a position that's comfortable for me. To get this piece out again, I loosen this off, twist, up, and then tighten back in. So the things to be careful of, we want to make sure that we're using stock that is a consistent thickness. We don't want to use anything that's uneven or goes in a tapered position from like really thin to really thick, because we want to be able to set our hold down to be the right height. We want to make sure that our fingers are never pushing into the blade. We don't want to push too hard. From this angle you can see this blade is about 1.5 millimeters wide. That could break really easily. When we're cleaning this off, we're still going to use a brush. We're not going to use our hands, but we're going to brush really gently. If we were to take anything and hit it too hard, we could actually damage this blade quite easily. They do have a tendency, or they do snap from time to time. If one snaps, shut the machine off, call me over, I'll come and help you switch it. I don't expect that anybody will not break a blade at some point, but we're going to try to break as few blades as we can. I just want to make sure that I've got everything that I need to tell you about the scroll saw. Oh, the last wonderful thing. If you are doing a long cut and it's an intricate cut where you've done a fancy scroll saw work and you're down inside the material and you need to get out of that cut without cutting a piece off, you shut it off and then you can back out of the cut with the machine turned off. We never want to back out of the cut with the machine turned on. It has way more chance that we'll break the blade in that sense, or in that case. Again, just like on the bandsaw, we're going to plan our work so that we're cutting shortcuts first. If we need pieces to be removed, we want it to be the easiest so we don't have to do a lot of backing out. That's the scroll saw. This one's fairly straightforward. If you have any questions, any concerns while you're using it, please don't hesitate to call me over. I will happily show you this machine one-on-one, and I'll answer any questions you have. Thanks for watching.